Hello, my friend. Welcome to Daily Faith. We have a wee bit of a warm-up show before we actually start the real show to let you know what's going on and to encourage you to watch today's program. We have got a very interesting and important program today. I don't know, I've been doing this for 50-odd years, traveling and preaching and speaking in this country. And I watch the themes of God. It seems that He speaks to a whole bunch of pastors or a whole bunch of ministers all at the same time about the same thing. And that's happening right now. And when that happens, I take note of it. And yesterday we had a dear guest on the program, blessed us tremendously, talking about the last days and deception that's coming forth. It's marking the end times. And today we have got a great minister, Brad Sullivan. He pastors Surge Church in Mobile, Alabama. And we are going to be talking. We just say, you know, what's the Lord been dealing with you? And he said, the days of Noah. And I thought, oops, here we go again. So we are going to have a great program. Call your pastor. Listen to me. Do yourself and him a great favor. Give him a call and say, watch Daily Faith. Very simple to reach us. dailyfaith.tv. dailyfaith.tv. And he might get a nugget, something that sparks his spirit to study and seek God regarding the days we are living in. I've been here. I came to America on the 12th of March, 1969 from Scotland. I have never in my life seen America. I was through the Carter years. I lived through the Carter years. I remember the election night when Reagan won with a landslide. I remember that I was actually driving a Winnebago motorhome from Miami to Baton Rouge to go to Bethany World Prayer Center. And so I remember watching all through the night as I was driving, and this country woke up again. It was morning in America. We are living in a desperate day when the world is not playing games. Listen to me, the world is not playing games. They want to destroy this country. All hell has opened up its portals to spew as much darkness. We are going to talk about this today. Call a friend right now. We're live at this moment. Call a friend and tell them to watch Daily Faith, because we believe that it's going to be exciting. You can watch it on YouTube. We have a page there. It's youtube.com/dailyfaith. You can watch us. You can click and subscribe if you would. Dailyfaith.tv is all of the programs that we've done are archived there. Hundreds of programs are archived there that you'll be blessed by watching. On CTN, which is seen across the country, every Monday night at 9 o'clock. We are seen across the whole nation. DirecTV channel 376. Dish is channel 262, and Glory Star is 117. Check those out. Also, we're on TCT Network, WGGS, which is a great station. I think we're also on their Atlanta station too. Journey Network and Integrity Network with Dale Hill. You can find us all of those places, and you can please tell your friends. We are growing every day, and people are talking to their friends about what they see and what they minister to. Daily Faith is a program designed to be with you on your walk with God. You need affirmation and instruction and blessing, and we believe that God's giving that through Daily Faith. We're delighted to have you with us. We are going to have a great program today. Welcome to Daily Faith. Hey, welcome to Daily Faith. My name is Philip Cameron, and we are thankful for you being with us today. We're going to be talking about something that's really important, really important. I believe we are seeing an unprecedented attack on the church, on faith, on this nation. At the same time, last night I was watching a news program, and they say that there's a great interest that's stirring in young people's hearts to know more about God. And I believe all of that is tied together into this one battle that's going on for the soul of the last free country in the world. You may not think America is free. We're freer than most, and we've got to stand up for our liberty. It's ironic to say that countries like Poland and Hungary are more free religiously than we are now, when they were once in the Soviet Union under communism. And I'm watching this develop as in real time, a concerted attack on every single thing that is the pillars of our society. And if you have any knowledge of history, what's happening in America happened in every major civilization that caused their downfall. Nothing is new, and this is starting all over again. And so I want you to watch today's program. Brad Sullivan, pastors Surge Church in Mobile, Alabama. He's my guest today, and I think you'll learn a lot. Call your pastor to watch the program. Before we do that, I want to talk to you just for a few moments. 35 years ago, I adopted a child in Romania, and it caused me to walk down a path that I'd never even known about when I first went into the orphanage in Timișoara, Romania. When I picked up that little orphan boy that I adopted, I had no idea that I was picking up, through him, thousands of other kids that we've cared and loved over the years. And one of the girls that came to our home in Moldova, we have a village of homes called Vatra Village in Chișinău, Moldova. And when kids come out of the orphanages, or if we find them literally in a broken home at dire risk of being trafficked, we take them to these homes, put them back into school, educate them, at the same time share the gospel with them. And these crazy kids that no one wants have turned into the most amazing missionaries. For the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, in Ukraine. We have a home in Ukraine also. Beautiful house that we can house 24 girls. In fact, 10 new Ukrainian girls are about to come into that house. And all through this war, our young folk have been preaching and sharing and feeding and clothing families that have lost everything to Russia's onslaught against that country. Years ago, a young girl came to our homes. Her name was Galina. And she came in, she'd come from a horrendous situation. She had never been hugged in her life. I gave her first hug, and she was as stiff as a post, had no idea how to respond to someone loving her, caring about her. And after a long time of talking and trying to pry information out of this young girl, I learned that she had a desire to learn music. And we enrolled her in a university, and she had a music degree. She married a wonderful young man, and she and this young man, Gennady, are now the house parents of one of the homes at Vatra Village. So an orphan that we found, she's an economical orphan, her mom didn't want her. An orphan that we found in an orphanage, along with her husband, is now house parenting other young kids that have come in and are in our care. Listen to her story, it'll bless you.
My name is Galina, and this is my husband Gennady. We are the parents in one of the houses from Vatra Village, and this is a blessing for us. And I never thought I would become a parent in one of these houses. Now I have the opportunity to help other girls that used to be like me. I come from a very poor family. My mom used to live with different men, and she didn't care about us. We are 5 children in our family, and because we were living very bad, the government took us in the orphanage, and I lived there for 9 years. And those weren't the best years that I lived, but through all of this, God had a plan. And after I finished the orphanage, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have money. I didn't have the courage to go to study. And as the teachers used to tell me that I'm nobody, it was hard for me to take a step. And that was the time when I met Cameron family, and they helped me to study, to continue my studies. And after I finished my studies, I met Gennady. I have someone with whom I can serve the Lord in this ministry.
Hello, my name is Gennady. After we got married, and Galina told me about this ministry. For me, it's a blessing to be a part in this ministry. I and Galina love God, and for us it's a blessing to share this love.
I still remember when Philip Cameron was telling us that if we are born, God has a plan. And now this is our motto. We tell the girls that they are special, they are loved, and God has a plan for their lives.
One of countless miracles of redemption and restoration that takes place through the work of the Orphans' Hands. Every one of the house parents that are now parenting in our homes in Vatra Village, every one of them were once orphans that God allowed us to rescue and now are the house parents. So we're now in our second generation of ministry to these kids. We are taking in right now, this week, in fact, I got a photograph this morning of 10 girls getting their, what happens is when they come literally with the clothes they're standing in. And we get their shoe size and their dress size, and they send it all to my wife, Chrissy. And we have a container going over there in the next few weeks. And in that container will be an entire wardrobe for these kids, down to a watch and everything else. So when they literally get their welcome package, is what we call it. It's a great day of celebration, and a fashion show ensues when they walk and they show the brand. Most have never had new clothes in their life. And these kids are ours in every way. We've got to put them through school. We've got to their eye exams, because most have never had their eye test. Many need glasses, dentists, doctors. The other day we had a young girl rushed in with some kind of intestinal issue that she faced and needed surgery. So we are literally adopting these kids into the family of God, and we need your help as we expand. We're having 10 new kids come into Ukraine. As we expand, the financial commitment that required of us is growing every single day. And your gift, your care, you can save a life for $1 a day. The motto of our ministry is, if you were born, God has a plan. It doesn't matter where you come from. God has a plan for your future. And we're looking for folks that will say, we will be a part of this family. We'll become a sponsor parent to these kids that are coming in. $1 a day won't change your life financially. It will bless you beyond measure. But if you can give $1 a day to help us, it would really be a blessing right now. During the summertime, all through the summer, we've had outreaches to Turkey, to the earthquake, 2 different times. We've bought dozens of tents, 200 gas stoves, a van, all of that for the Turkey outreach. These kids, it's our kids that are missionaries and go down to Turkey. We're continually in Ukraine. We go up there every week and have a feeding program there of feeding 1,500 people that have no food. I mean, literally, they stand in line in the pouring rain, freezing cold, waiting to get some food from Orphans' Hands. So you're part of a gift that is blessing so many people. The address is real simple. Just make a check out to Orphans' Hands, P.O. Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee, 37716. And you can designate a gift to the orphans, or you can give to Turkey for the earthquake relief, or Ukraine for refugees. Whatever you feel the Lord leading you to do so, please do. Also in dailyfaith.tv, there is a giving page there, and you can also call right now, 833-DAILY-FAITH. Do something today. If you have a need in your life, if you're looking for God to move into your family and save your loved ones, why don't you become a sponsor and a carer for someone else that has nobody else to believe with them? They don't have a grandma praying for them or a mom and dad praying for them. These are isolated orphans that live at risk of being trafficked. And we are just so grateful that God has sent us people just like you who make this miracle happen. So please do so. We appreciate your giving. Brad Sullivan is pastor of Surge Church in Mobile, Alabama. And just in the few moments we got a chance to fellowship before the program today, I immediately recognized, I just said to him, I says, I can see that you've been studying, you're a learned man, because of the things he was telling me related to the end times that we're living in. And I've never been one to speak much about this, but the Holy Ghost has been exercising me that we are literally in the days of Noah. We're living in those days right now, when vile times are happening. I know you're like me. I'll say, why are they doing this? because they're inspired by darkness. We're so innocent and clean in our thinking that we can't imagine someone having a Hitler-type desire to destroy lives. That's what they're thinking about. How they can devalue so that your gender doesn't matter. I mean, everything that they can destroy, they're destroying. And it's a proof that we're living in the days of Noah. And Brad, I'm delighted to have you with me on Daily Faith today. And I'm so pleased that God's been dealing with you. You've been teaching this in your church, and we didn't know this until we spoke just a few minutes ago. Tell us where you and what your vision of the world is right now, and how you feel things are unfolding.
Well, it's a joy to be with you, Robert. Excuse me, Philip. I'm sorry.
My cousin.
I was just with your cousin, Robert. We were talking about that. My bad. It's a joy to be with you, and thank you for all you do in your orphanage and the great work you guys are doing around the world. So, anyway, well, you know, I always like to study the end times based on just what the Bible says about it, because you know, 28% of the Bible was prophecy when it was given. That means that over a quarter of the Bible is Bible prophecy. And if you look at the fact that over a quarter of the Bible is prophecy when it was given, or it's Bible prophecy, and you compare that to how much it's talked about in the church today, there is a wide gulf.
Negligible, yes.
In the message. And so I always like to talk about, you know, Bible prophecy or end times just in context of this is what the Bible tells us about. And so I think what happens is a lot of times Christians will see world events that maybe scare them or shake them. Then they want to know something about the end times. And I think it's always even better to have more of a healthy diet of these things so that you have a working understanding what the Bible says, so that when things like we're seeing today unfold, you're not shaken. You're like, the Bible already says that. And so it kind of gives you a better point of reference. But I agree with you. I don't think we've ever lived in a time where we see, especially in America, such a diabolical time where, you know, your rights, your freedoms. I think the thing that people have got to realize, and I've been telling our church this, and it's probably not a popular thing to say, but, you know, there's something that you should fear more than COVID or more than Russia or more than climate change. And that is a government that has created a surveillance state, you know, and now they have been surveilling us for years and years. And now they've added another layer to that surveillance state, and that is censorship. Now with surveillance, there's censorship, and that's what's given birth to the cancel culture, that if you dare speak out against the orthodoxy of the day, then you're going to be punished, and you're going to be canceled, and they're going to come after you. And so that is a totalitarian nature that we're going to see, that the Antichrist will rule a one world system, and it will be something that you cannot speak out against the government. You can't dissent. To do so will be your death.
When COVID began, and I saw them moving to close the church, you could go to Walmart, but you couldn't go to church. You can go to the bar, and you couldn't go to church. It rang every bell in my brain. I said, hold on a second. This is a test. They are running a test here right now. They've taken this crisis off the shelf and said, okay, then let's see how far we can push this privacy and freedom thing. And to their amazement, we folded. We gave up to them. We wore the mask. I knew I'd be going around and folk would be having the mask under their nose. I'm thinking, this thing is a scam that they're running on.
It was a joke. It became a joke. Right? Exactly. They're almost wearing it like they're almost wearing a chin strap on a football helmet. You know.
Absolutely. And when I saw that, and I saw how they began to encroach on liberty. And they now have the technology. I don't know if you know this or not. Every text you send, they know. Every phone call they record. Everything that is, every footprint you have. That's why when there's someone on the run from the law, they can triangulate where their cell phone is and put them at the place at the right time. This guy that killed all these kids in the middle of the night, they found his phone. It dinged. They can. We travel thousands of miles, and I'll say to Andrew, every time he buys gas with our credit card, I'll say, they know where we are. Every time you eat in a restaurant, they know what you ate, how much you spent. And so technology has allowed them to encroach way more into our lives than we realize, because it's a silent encroachment. And
one of the things that...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, technology is a key, because One, when you look at Revelation 13, that is when the Antichrist, in the second half of the tribulation, he is going to enact the beast system on a whole new scale. And it'll be a one world, it's going to be an economic system. You got to have the mark to buy or sell. And it'll also be a religious system where he is the object of worship. But he is going to have like this pseudo omniscience and omnipresence over the world. But it's not because he has those capabilities. Only God is omnipresent and omniscient. But he'll have a pseudo omniscience and omnipresence because of the technological matrix that is literally before our very eyes being created that he will use. But you know, Jesus said, the disciples asked him, what's it going to be like at the end of the age, you know, which will be the end of the tribulation, at the time of your coming, and or at least that time frame leading up to the tribulation and during the tribulation. And he said, and it was so interesting, Philip, and I apologize again, I'm really good friends with your cousin Robert, so I just immediately said, I talked to him a lot. So Philip Cameron, is that it's interesting. He's asked about a future event, right? But to give it a context, he goes to the ancient past before the flood. So the past is always the window into the future. Absolutely. And he said, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And one of the things that we see in Noah's day, I just did a 2-part message series in our church, Philip, on the days of Noah. And it was the 7 signs that we see in Noah's day that are being they're resurfacing today. But one of those is the rapid advancement of technology. Because a lot of people think that, you know, men, because of the way we're taught in school, that man was this knuckle-dragging Neanderthal and they just developed over time. But you're talking about very sophisticated people. And before the Adam and Eve fell from the garden, you're talking about people that are perfect. So they're using 100% of their brain power.
Absolutely. And
even when they're kicked out of the garden, they hadn't had the 6,000 years of human history, the accumulative effect of the curse to take effect on their physical body. So they're still living 800 years old, still probably using massive amounts of brain power. But you see 2 lineages come out of Adam. Abel was killed. God gives them another son, Seth, which means appointed. God appointed another one. And you see the Sethite line and the Cainite line. And the sons of Cain were very wicked, and the sons of Seth called upon the Lord. And so the curse that sin brought was in those days was even hard. The curse of sin on the world was even greater before the flood than it is today, because there was no seasons. They weren't allowed to eat meat at the time. They were vegetarian. There was no rainfall. So they were really literally eking out a living. And that's why you see the Cainites were the ones who developed technology. They were developing blacksmithing. They were developing cities. They were developing music, all these things. Where the Sethites, you don't see that technological development. And the reason is because they embraced the curse that God was put upon them, because they knew that, you know, sin came from their father, but they did it in hopes that there was a word that from the mother is coming a seed that's going to redeem them. But the Cainites, they developed technology because they wanted to find a way of life around the curse. And so you see this, you see the use of technology and the development of technology. And it's not that technology is bad and that God doesn't give us great ideas for technological advancement. It's just you see in this, in a pre-flood world, people who don't serve God, or they may even acknowledge God, but they're not in covenant with God.
So the Kenites,
technology.
They depended on technology as we are now depending on it. Technology has replaced God. Our iPad is now the prophetic word into our lives. So what you're saying is this duality of the faith and carnality is still very much active in the world today. The only thing is now is technology has gone way beyond the blacksmith shop.
Right, exactly. But you see the technological advancements in that. But the thing that's concerning is one of the signs of Noah's day was, I would say like this, the alliance between the nominal church and the world. Because you saw a clear distinction between the Sethites and the Cainites. Like in Genesis 4, it said the Sethites, they called upon the name of the Lord, which is the word Jehovah, which means they understood they were a people in covenant with God. And the Cainites, it's not that they rejected the idea that there was a God. They just saw him as a Elohim, the supreme God. So they did their wickedness believing that there was a God out there. But it was the Sethites that called upon the name of the Lord. But here's the sad part, Philip, is that by Genesis 4, by Genesis 6, you don't see, you no longer see these two lineages of Sethites and Canaanites. Now there's been this amalgamation where clearly down the line, Sethites began to see the enjoyment of life that technology gave the Canaanites, and they eventually all became one people group. And it was in that time of rebellion that we see that the fallen ones came down, and they took human wives, the fallen angels, and they produced the race of giants in the ancient past called the Nephilim. And it says that it was in the day, the giants from the land in those days and after that, when the sons of God came down. And so, you're seeing all of these markers take place again.
The sons of God were angels, correct? They were fallen angels.
In the Old Testament, that phrase "sons of God" is used about 5 times, and it's in reference to angels. There's an old Christian tradition started with St. Augustine, but it was St. Augustine, but was not correct. It was that the sons of Cain, that the daughters of Cain married the sons of Seth, and they became this, wicked lineage. But that's not what it says. It actually the sons of God and the daughters of Adam. The original Hebrew says sons of God and the daughters of Adam, which means the daughters of men. And so when you see sons of God, it's usually a reference to angels in the Old Testament, because you got to remember there were no sons of God at the time. Jesus came as a son of God, and through him we become sons of God.
Yes.
And so you're talking about the incursion of fallen angels into the world. One of the signs of Noah's day was the breaking of the covenant of marriage. Just like you were saying earlier, we see the disregard of the covenant of marriage. You're seeing marriage being redefined in our era, in our generation today. Now, fast forward just a few years, it's complete gender confusion. And it's a real
and gender confusion. Gender confusion isn't just a recent phenomenon. This has been going on for centuries, since the beginning, as long as sin entered the world.
Right, and it says when God created everything in the beginning, Philip, it says each according to its kind. So the birds of the air and the cattle of the field and everything procreated in itself, each according to its kind. So God put in species barriers, right? For man, for a donkey, for sure. Whatever. And so one of the things that Satan heard was that, hey, the seed of the woman is going to come to destroy you. So he wanted to prevent this bloodline, the seed of the bloodline, from coming to destroy him. So what's one of the things you do is that you infect the bloodline. And that's where you see the sons of, you dilute it and you change it to be something that it was made in the image of God. Now you change it to become something else, to contaminate the bloodline, to prevent this one coming. He's going to destroy me. And so that's where you see in Genesis 6, and there's a great book called the Book of Enoch that may even, for some Christians, that may be controversial just to say that, but it's a book that is quoted by Jude in New Testament, Jude being the brother of Jesus, and it is referenced by Peter. So it's a book that they knew about, and it's not that we treat it as gospel, but we use it as a historical reference that kind of gives more detail of what happened in the days of Noah and leading up to the days of Noah. And we see that the book of Enoch goes into great detail about what these fallen angels did when they took human women and they produced a race of giants through them. They were called the Nephilim.
And the giants are referred to and confronted through the scriptures. And
right, they reappear after the flood. Right,
Brad, I hate this clock. We are a minute out from the end. I want you to get in contact. Do you have teaching of this online? Can people access through the church?
If people just go to our website at surgechurch.tv.
Surge Church. Put that up on the screen. surgechurch.tv. And
right.
On
our Facebook, on our YouTube page as well, Surge Church, you can go through all the messages that we teach. We just did a 2-part series we're doing on the rapture of the church. These are just things that we're bringing back to teach the church. Like, look, come on. We need to be faithful to the end. And like you said, these are crazy, crazy days. The spirit of Antichrist is on warp speed. And so that means as a church, we need to be faith-filled.
Listen, I want you to get in contact with Brad, find his church. If you're in that area, go and listen to what he's going to say, because it's important. Listen to me. You need to find preachers that are in tune with what God is doing in these last days that we're living in. Brad, thank you for being on Daily Faith today. We've got to do this again and pick this thread up again in the future. We love you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching Daily Faith today. We'll see you again soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.
For over 25 years, the Cameron family has been changing the lives of orphans in Romania and Moldova. From providing running water, flushing toilets, and clean wells, to coal for heat, new windows, as well as food and clothing, they champion the physical needs of the orphans in these broken and desolate countries. Many of Moldova's orphans are saved from the horrors of trafficking through homes founded by the Camerons, and in the process, orphans become daughters and sons. They come to know their Heavenly Father and are forever changed by the love of Jesus. God help the Camerons lift these amazing young men and women out of darkness. Now, no longer orphans, they want to return and invade that very same darkness with the light of Jesus Christ. The Orphan's Hands equips these daughters and sons to become missionaries. Your monthly gift of $31 will allow us to rescue and take in more girls and boys, saving them from the hell of human trafficking. Your monthly partnership will allow us to care for those in the Orphan's Hands homes in Moldova and the Ukraine. If you want to join Philip and Chrissy in taking care of these precious young people, please contact us today by calling 833-DAILY-FAITH. You can also give by going online to www.dailyfaith.tv or by writing to Post Office Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee 37716. So many lives depend on what we do. Thank you for loving the lost.